All right, we're going to get into all of it. The Mets are showing some signs of life. Just a bit. Their offense has been scoring lately. We're going to get into the Yankees as well, winning 3 of their last 4 games. Let's talk all of it, but we're going to start out with the Mets. Nolan McLean kind of gave the Mets exactly what they needed. Exactly what they needed. Not only did they need a starting pitcher to go deep into a game, somewhat deep into a game. I know he didn't give us 6 innings like we've all been wanting since the past month. He didn't give us that, but he gave us 8 Ks. He gave us no earned runs allowed, only allowed 3 hits. Nolan McLean was everything that us Mets fans wanted and more. And it was at the perfect time. The Mets are holding on to just a 1-game lead, a 1.5-game lead over the Cincinnati Reds for that third and final wild card spot in the National League. So they need anything and everything they can get right now to hold on to that slim lead. The division, surprisingly, I still think the Mets have a shot, but I don't really want to focus my full attention on the NL East right now because we hold that slim lead in the wild card race. So at the same time, I want to say we can win the NL East. We need to focus on just making the playoffs at this point. The division is still up for grabs. I know it's a 5-game lead that the Phillies hold right now, but we still have another 7 games left against the Phillies that we can gain some ground on. We have a somewhat easy schedule coming up these next 6 games. We have the Washington Nationals, and then we have the Atlanta Braves, and then the Philadelphia Phillies. And the one thing the Mets have done great all year is playing their divisional teams. They actually have one of the better records. They have the best record in the NL East among, playing against their divisional teams, playing the divisional opponents. So I'm confident going into this series against the Nationals and the Braves. And the Braves, we should see Nolan McLean pitch in that series as well. So that's going to be exciting. And also, I saw a thing where if the Mets just skip David Peterson's start in that Brave series, let's say they push him back 1 start, you'd have David Peterson, Sean Manaea, and Kodai Senga going into that series against the Philadelphia Phillies. So we have a chance. As Aaron Boone will say, it's all right in front of them. It is. It's all right in front of them. But they did gain some momentum, specifically after Nolan McLean's start. Much needed, like I said before. He went off. We're going to talk about him more in depth in a little bit. And then also, Francisco Lindor has finally woken up. When Lindor goes, the Mets go. It's plain and simple. It was last year. It was 2022. When Francisco Lindor is doing things that are good, the Mets usually do good. It's just is what it is. Francisco Lindor is not only the leader of this team, but I think he's the engine of this team. Do I think he's better than Juan Soto? No. But Francisco Lindor, he's contagious. He is just contagious. I don't know what it is. When Pete Alonso was going nuts in early April and May, the Mets were obviously winning ball games. So it's not necessarily all on Francisco Lindor to lift the Mets up. But then we also saw Pete get hot and the Mets slow down. We saw Juan Soto have a ridiculous June, and the Mets weren't really the team that they were earlier on in the season, even when Soto was going off. But for some weird reason, when Lindor goes off, the Mets go off too. We saw a perfect example last year. Lindor carried the Mets for a stretch in May, for a stretch in late April, or just this season. So when Lindor goes, the Mets go. Lindor won Player of the Week. He hit over 500 this past week, had 3 home runs, multiple extra base hits. Lindor's hot, and we really need Lindor to finish the season strong because he was on a terrible stretch. And I know a lot of people, don't really like criticizing Francisco Lindor because Francisco Lindor earned his stripes last year as a New York Met, even though in 2022 and even 2023, he had great seasons. But last year, he really kind of took a step forward in the eyes of the Met fan. He was that hero. He played hero ball. So this year, he wasn't really getting too much, criticism because of what he did last year. This year is definitely a down year right now, but you look at his overall numbers after this stretch, and they're back where they need to be. I'd still like to see that OPS go above 800, but a shortstop having a 782 OPS, you're not going to complain about that. Hitting just under 260, 259 to be exact. Like I said, that 782 OPS. He's got 71 RBIs on the year and 24 home runs. So Lindor is starting to kind of bring his numbers back up to what they usually should look like. what they usually do look like throughout his career. And he's probably going to have another 30-30 year for the third consecutive season in a row. So good for Lindor. And like I said, if he continues to get hot, to stay hot, to be the player that we all know he can be, because we all know what Francisco Lindor can be. He can be an MVP caliber player, not just the best shortstop in the league or a top 3, whatever you want to say he is among those shortstops. He is that. He is everything like that. But he can be an MVP caliber team that can carry an offense. He did it last year. We all know he can do it. We all knew it was in there. I was giving him criticism. I was saying it's frustrating that Lindor is struggling because we know that he has it in him to lift this team out of the gutter, and he did just that this past weekend. He went absolutely off, went 3 for 5 yesterday in the Little League World Classic with an RBI. He also got a double on the day. 2 for 4 in game 2 of that series against Seattle, and then 2 home runs in game 1, went 3 for 5, had 4 RBIs that game. So he tallied up in this series a total of 7 hits. No, not 7 hits, 8 hits actually, 1 off, 8 hits, 2 home runs with 6 RBIs. Lindor going off. I mean, he's now had 5 multi-hit games in a row. He's going off. He's on a 6-game hitting streak. This is exactly what the Mets need right now. They need Francisco Lindor because, like I said, Lindor's hitting is contagious. Hitting is contagious in general, but Lindor's hitting is contagious. And now that I'm talking about hitting and it being contagious, when you look at the Mets' past few games, I know even when they lost, they're scoring a lot of runs. And the problem all year has been the offense, especially with runners in scoring position, but mainly it's just the offense in general. They're not scoring enough runs. April and May, they went on a terrific run. They were 21 games over 500 at one point, but it was never really because of the offense. It was really always because of the elite starting pitching that they had to start the year. That was just too good to really sustain for a full year. Now it kind of, I think the starting pitching hit rock bottom. Injuries derailed that rotation. And now hopefully Nolan McLean, that little jolt can help them a little bit. Kodai Senga had a good start. David Peterson, I'm not worried about him. One bad start in his past few starts. David Peterson's been great all year. Sean Manaea just came off the IL, and he's shown us flashes of what he was last year, so I'm not really too worried about Manaea. Montas obviously got kicked out of the rotation, so we don't really have to worry about him too much. Tyler McGill is on the horizon of making his return, and as much as people don't like Tyler McGill was having a great year. Tyler McGill was one of the Mets' best pitchers this year. He had a 3.95 ERA, not great, but as a number 4 or 5 in the back end of the rotation, that's pretty good. 89 strikeouts and 68.1 innings pitched. That's pretty good, whether they want to use him out of the bullpen or as a starter. I don't mind Tyler McGill rejoining this rotation of pitchers because right now they need even more, not just Nolan McLean. Also, speaking of young pitchers, Jonah Tong, ridiculous in his first ever AAA start. So we'll talk about that later. Touch on Brandon Sproat potentially making his debut next. But sticking to the offense, you look at the past few games with the Mets, they've had every game in their hands and they blow it late, whether it's Ryan Helsley blowing a lead, and Ryan Helsley has sucked lately, but I'm still confident he can give us something this year. He's too good. He has too good of a track record not to. Speaking of bullpen acquisitions, Gregory Soto has been great. Tyler Rogers has been great. And then Edwin Diaz continuing to be the best closer in baseball. But really, in August, this offense has really started to wake up. That first series in August against the Giants, they scored 12 runs in that second game of the series. Against the Guardians in the first game of that series in their loss, they scored 6 runs, blew that late lead. You look at the Brewers series, they scored 4 runs in game 2, 6 runs in game 3. You look at the Braves series, they scored 13 runs in game 1, 6 runs in game 2, only 3 runs in game 3, but 13 and 6 the 2 days before. And then against the Mariners, they put up 9 runs in game 1, only 3 runs in game 2, but Nolan McLean really helped them that day. He was dominant, and the bullpen too. They did their job. Gregory Soto's looking fantastic. And then 7 runs yesterday in the Little League World Classic, 14 total hits together. And, they're scoring in bunches. And that's what they did last year. That's what made them so good last year. They score in bunches. The Mets last year, they didn't really score every single inning. It wasn't 1 run here in the first, 1 run in the second, 1 run in the fifth, on and on and on. No, they scored in bunches. They would put up a 5-run inning. They would put up a 6-run inning. And that's what they're starting to do now. That's what they're starting to do again. In the second inning of yesterday's game, 3 runs. In the fifth inning of yesterday's game, 4 runs. And that's really all they needed. Obviously, they only needed 4 to win the game because they only allowed 3 runs, but they did their job. And when the Mets offense does their job, when you get a 5-inning performance out of Clay Holmes where he only allows 5 hits and 1 earned run, then you're like, thank you, Clay Holmes. One, also, Clay Holmes hasn't really done anything for us in a while, so it was nice to see him not blow up and explode, but it makes even their starters' lines look better when they do go 5 innings, and only allow 1 or 2 runs. But speaking of Clay Holmes, I think the experiment so far has gone good. I think he should get a few more starts, see what he can give you. Because you look at his overall numbers this year, he's 10-6 with a 3.64 ERA in his first year as a starter. I think this experiment has worked. It's been a success. David Stearns did a good job in finding Clay Holmes in the offseason and saying, you know what, we're going to make you a starter. I think that was a good idea. And I think sooner rather than later, the Mets need to move Clay Holmes to the bullpen. I'm not saying the experiment didn't work. Like I said, it has worked. But he's already had 131 innings pitched. Last year, he only pitched 63. He hasn't pitched more than 100 innings in his entire career. At some point, I think the Mets need to move him to the bullpen, especially if Ryan Helsley continues to struggle. Because do we really think Holmes is going to be making playoff starts? Do we want him making playoff starts? I mean, we got to get there, obviously, but eventually I think they need to move Holmes to the bullpen. Not yet. Give him a few more starts. See if you can continue to get 5 innings out of him. But we got to see. We got to see. But the offense in general has been doing really well. Pete Alonso is starting to pick things up again. And if you have a hot Pete Alonso and a hot Francisco Lindor, I mean, that enough can carry your offense. Alonso went 1 for 4 yesterday. He went 1 for 4 with a double in game 2 of this series. And you look at the month of August, I mean, Pete Alonso has been actually doing very well in the month of August. I'm going to pull up his stats right now. Pete Alonso's stats since August 1st. Right now, Alonso is hitting .328 in August. He's scored 10 times. He's got 20 hits overall. He's got how many home runs? 6 home runs, almost his career high in a month. I think is 7. So if he gets one more, he'll tie that career high. So Pete Alonso has been doing great in August. Obviously, Lindor padded his August stats with this ridiculous week. And you look at his OPS since August 1st. Pete Alonso has a .988 OPS since August 1st. So, and then also Juan Soto. Juan Solo is what people are calling him now because of all the solo home runs. Even though the solo home runs are actually usually at a perfect time, like sometimes they're to take a lead, sometimes they're to give them, to tie the game. But Juan Soto, since August 1st, hitting .273, 5 homers, 9 RBIs, scored 12 times, 15 hits in those 15 games. So you have Soto hot, you have Alonso hot, you have Lindor hot. The only one we need now to get hot is Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo, I mean, he's only hitting .214. He's got 12 hits and 1 home run, 7 RBIs in the 15 games in August. But as long as 3 out of those 4 guys, even 2 out of those 4 guys are hot, you got to be confident. The one hit the Mets did take in their lineup offensively was yesterday. Francisco Alvarez, always catching a bad break. I feel for the guy because Francisco Alvarez is actually having, in my opinion, his most complete season. I know he hit 25 homers his rookie year, but overall he wasn't getting on base. He struck out a lot. But you look at his numbers this year, especially since he came back from that minor league stint, but his numbers overall in the year are actually relatively well. The guy has a .265 batting average, a .787 OPS, which is the highest of his career, only 7 homers, but only 56 games. But this 56 games from Alvarez is the best I've ever seen him. I mean, a .787 OPS from your catcher, you'll take that every single day. Hitting .265. I mean, this guy last year, he hit 237. In 2023, 209. Like, his batting average is higher than it's ever been. .787 OPS this year compared to a .710 OPS last year, .721 OPS in 2023. The RBIs, I mean, not as many, like I said, in his rookie year in 2023 where he had 63, but 24 RBIs in 56 games. When you're batting in the bottom of the order, that's good. That's good. So the Mets lineup is starting to wake up. It's starting to wake up. Even in the games they've lost, this offense has started to wake up. Now all they need is their starting pitching to just be okay. If the starting pitching can be okay, and this offense is finally realizing what they could be, because going into the year, it wasn't the starting pitching that we were all excited about. It was the lineup. It was the offense. That's what they needed to be. Francisco Alvarez called this lineup the best lineup in baseball going into the year. They need to be that. They don't need to be the best best lineup in baseball. Just be a top 5, top 10, because we all know that they can be that. They can. And with Lindor waking up, with Alonso waking up, with Soto waking up, this is exactly what they need at this moment in time. Exactly what they need. And now you look at their upcoming schedule. I mean, now's the time to start gaining momentum. Now's the time for the Mets to go on one of their winning streaks. They've been a very streaky team all year long. Now they need to go on a winning streak. You got 3 games against the Nationals, then 3 games against the Braves. You take 4 out of 6 of those games, maybe gain a game up on the Phillies. So then you're 4 games behind rather than 5 going into a 3-game stretch with the Phillies. You win 2 out of 3 there. Then just like that, you're 2 games back in the NL East. And then they got the Marlins for a 4-game set, and then the Tigers, and then they got the Reds for another 3-game set. They can gain some ground in the wild card race against the Reds. And then they got the Phillies again. They got the Phillies for a 4-game stretch. So the Mets still surprisingly have a shot at the NL East. They do. The Texas Rangers, they can beat the Rangers. The Rangers are very good this year, at least better than they were last year. They're still out of a playoff spot, but they're right there, only a game under 500 in the American League wildcard race. It's still tight. They're still, able to sneak their way in. Then they got the Padres. That's going to be tough. But then they got the Nationals. They got the Cubs, who've kind of been off a little bit lately. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. Right now, they're behind on the Brewers 1-0. But and then they finished the season off with the Marlins. So as tough as this schedule did seem, it's really not. Like I'm going through their schedule right now. The Nationals take 2 out of 3. Braves take 2 out of 3. Phillies, 1 out of 3 would be nice. Like 1 out of 3 would be nice. 2 out of 3 would be great. But they can take 2 out of 3 against those next 3 series. Against the Marlins, they can beat the Marlins as hot as the Marlins have been. The Marlins have really picked up, momentum since the All-Star. Well, really since June, the Marlins have been a very good team, but they're still a 59-65 team. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. They've started to cool down a little bit. They can beat the Marlins. The Tigers, that's going to be tough, but they can do it. They can beat the Tigers. The Reds, I don't know what the Reds are. I really don't. The Reds are a good team. They are a good team. They're right there behind us in that wild card race. But are we going to say that the Cincinnati Reds are a better baseball team than the New York Mets? I'm not. So they can beat them. 4-game set against the Phillies. They can beat the Rangers. The Padres are going to be tough. But then you got the Nationals, Cubs, and Marlins to finish off the year. The Mets can still make the postseason. The Mets can still surprisingly win the NL East, but I'm more focused on this wild card race. It's only hopefully up from here. The way I look at it, this terrible stretch they went on, I think that's the lowest. That's their low point of the year. I think they can never be as worst as what they were. If they are, well then goddamn, they're not making the playoffs. But they're better than what they were. They are. We all know it. As much as we want to complain about Carlos Mendoza's decisions to pull a starter early, to pull a starter late, to put this guy in at this point in the game, they're a good team. You look at their bullpen. On paper, and realistically, Edwin Diaz, Tyler Rogers, Reed Garrett. Oh, I know he's been struggling lately, but Reed Garrett has been good all year. Edwin Diaz, like I said, best closer in baseball before. Gregory Soto, probably the best acquisition that they've made this year. Tyler Rogers, I mean, his ability to throw strikes, to pound the zone, to let up soft contact, you love that. If Ryan Helsley can figure it out, the Mets have a really good bullpen. Starting pitching-wise, Clay Holmes, keep giving us 5 innings. 5 innings and do what you did yesterday. Everyone will take that. No one's expecting Clay Holmes to go 6-7 innings anymore. No one. David Peterson, he's been great all year. One bad start really in his last few starts. Not worried about David Peterson. Sean Manaea, he's really the one guy that has to step it up now because Kodai Senga pitched a great start. Clay Holmes did his job. Nolan McLean was fantastic. Sean Manaea, it's Sean Manaea's turn to really take off. That's who needs to take off. So really, it's the pitching now. The offense obviously needs to continue, but in August, the Mets have had one of the best offenses in baseball. And that's what's so frustrating because they've been losing so much, but their offense has been so good. All right, let's hit the comments real quick, and then we'll jump on Nolan McLean and some of the pitching prospects specifically. Spaghetti Drew said Lindor didn't. Oh, he didn't have a 30-30 season last year? What did he have? Oh, he had 29 stolen bases, was it, right? Wasn't he like one off? Yeah, 29 stolen bases last year. All right. All right. But still, first shortstop ever, 2025 seasons. Pretty good. Mets winning the division. Wheeler is out for 2 years. 2 years he's out? The blood clots put him out 2 years? Is that confirmed? I mean, the blood clot is scary. It is scary. And he did say he's going to retire in a few years. That's scary. Honestly, he is going to be out for the year. Apparently his season's in jeopardy. And honestly, I don't want him to pitch the rest of the year. And it's not so much I don't want him to pitch because it helps the Mets and doesn't help the Phillies. It's more so because I'm a fan of Zach Wheeler. I am a fan of Zach Wheeler, and I don't want him to risk anything because a blood clot is scary. That's some scary stuff. So, hopefully everything works out right for Zach Wheeler, and he gets a safe recovery and comes back as strong as before. But you never want to see a guy, especially a guy like Zach Wheeler, have something scary like a blood clot like that. That's stuff scary. Ended Chris Botch's career in the NBA, a blood clot. Yeah, man. The Mets, they're starting to show some signs of life. They are. This offense is the key, though. Because I think the pitching can come back around. I think Brandon Sproat will make a start soon. They have a 16-game stretch coming up. 16 straight days with a game. They need to bring up Brandon Sproat. It's time for him to. And I'm not expecting Brandon Sproat to be what he was in the minors and just be dominant like he has been over his past few starts in AAA. I'm not expecting him to go 5 2/3 innings like Nolan McLean did and not allow a single run. And Nolan McLean showed some guts in that game, by the way. But the Mets need another starter because right now there's really only – I like David Peterson. I like Nolan McLean in this rotation. I like Kodai Senga. I think he's going to start to build off that last start. Sean Manaea. You got to love him too. But outside of Peterson, Senga, McLean, and Manaea, I mean, Holmes is great, but, with those 5, you need an extra day for David Peterson because off 6 days rest, David Peterson has been much better than on 5 days rest. Sean Manaea just came off the IL. Clay Holmes, like I said, 131 innings so far this year after pitching only 63 last year. Kind of alarming. Nolan McLean, I think he would benefit from 6 days rest. Kodai Senga, we all know he needs that 6 days rest. Who's the next guy that gets the call? Is it Tyler McGill? Is it Brandon Sproat? One of them needs to join this rotation during this 16-game stretch. I mean, Paul Blackburn, not an option anymore. He got DFA'd, surprisingly. I mean, Paul Blackburn, I think I liked him in that role, coming out of the bullpen, eating up innings, saving their bullpen. I mean, his most recent outing, 5 innings against Atlanta, 2 earned runs only. That 1 home run killed him. But, he was good. He ate up innings, saved the bullpen. But overall this year, he hasn't been great. He has over a 6 ERA. So I was shocked to see Paul Blackburn be the one to get DFA'd for Nolan McLean. But at the same time, I also see it because now you move Frankie Montas to Paul Blackburn's role. Now Frankie Montas is that guy where you're like, we need you to save the bullpen. Come in, eat up a few innings, save the bullpen. But also, what do the Mets do with Frankie Montas? I want to touch on that before I get into Sproat and Tong. When I also want to say that Tong could make his debut this year. I'm going to bring that up soon. But what do they do with Montas? Because Montas, you got to use him. You can't put him in, realistically, the Mets aren't cutting him. They're not DFAing him. They signed him to a $34 million deal. That would be a huge waste of money. And at the same time with an off season under the pitching lab, goes through a full spring training that like he didn't get to do this year, maybe he can become a reliable arm. But this year, no, I don't trust Frankie Montas. Nobody trusts Frankie Montas. Even the Mets don't trust Frankie Montas. That's why they kicked him out of the rotation, moved him to the bullpen. But what do they do with him? Because you're going to have to use him. You can't just keep him in the bullpen just to make him happy and keep him on the roster. You can't DFA him because, like I said, that would just be a waste of $34 million too soon. Like I could see if it was next year and he sucks in April and May, then you DFA him. But this year, give him another year. But it's going to be interesting to see how they use him. It will be interesting to see how they use Frankie Montas. He did come out of the bullpen, pitched in the 9th inning against the Mariners the other day. And he wasn't good at all. He against Seattle, he in 2 innings let up 3 hits, let up a run, walked 2 guys. I mean, walks have killed him all year. It's like every single game, his past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, multiple walks. Multiple walks from Frankie Montas. So, not good. Not good. And on the year, he sucked. 6.28 ERA, 9 games, 7 starts, 1.6 whip. Terrible. Terrible from Frankie Montas. But what do you do with him? That's what I'm going to be interested to see. All right, let's talk Jonah Tong, and let's talk Brandon Sproat. Tyler McGill, I think, is on the table to join this rotation, but I want to see Brandon Sproat join this rotation. I want to see him get a shot. You look at his stats in the minors overall in AAA. They're not what Nolan McLean's were. But over his past few starts, he has been ridiculous. This year in AAA, 7-6 in 23 games, 1.27 whip, only 92 strikeouts in 104 innings. So not as many strikeouts as he had last year in the minors. 4.40 ERA. But you look at his past few games in the minors, and he looks like he's ready. I mean, in the month of July, 27 innings pitched, only allowed 2 earned runs. 2 earned runs. 14 hits in those 27 innings. And now in August, I mean, his last start, he struggled. He struggled in his last start. But outside of that, you look at his past few starts. I'm going to go over since June. June 6, 6 innings, no earned runs. June 12, 5.1 innings, 3 earned runs. 1 inning on June 19th, 3 earned runs. 3.1 innings on June 22nd, 4 earned runs. June 28th, 6 innings, no earned runs. July 4th, 5 innings, no runs. July 10th, 7 innings, no runs, 3 hits. July 19th, 1 hit, no runs. July 25th, 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs. July 31st, 3 hits, no runs. August 7th, 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs. And then obviously he blew up in his last start, 3.1 innings, 5 earned runs. But, I mean, Sproat, really since June, he's been really good. Really good. Why not? At this point, why not? The Mets need anything and everything they can get, like I said, to start. I would give him an opportunity. Now, let's talk Jonah Tong. It's going to be weird if he does make his debut this late in the season after just getting the call to AAA. But I find that interesting that they just gave him the call for AAA and they just called up Nolan McLean. I feel like it's more like, hey, if you dominate in these first few AAA starts, maybe we bring you up. Because honestly, I think Jonah Tong is the best out of the bunch. Out of McLean, out of Sproat, out of even Christian Scott, even though he's on the IL. Obviously Blade Tidwell is gone, but he was a high-ranked pitching prospect in the Mets system going into the year. Out of all these pitching prospects, I think Jonah Tong has the highest ceiling. I think he does. I mean, in 2025, he had, right now, 9-5 on the year, 21 games, a 1.50 ERA. Even last year in 25 games, he had a 3.03 ERA. Jonah Tong is ridiculous. He's hard to hit, unhittable. Like, you look at his whip. His whip this year is a .92. Has 171 strikeouts. 171 strikeouts in 107.2 innings pitched. I think Tong's actually a little bit closer to the majors than we might realize. I think he actually has a real shot at making his debut this year. this year. Why not? He makes his debut this year. Same thing like Nolan McLean. Maintains rookie status for next year. One of those two win the rookie of the year. Mets get an extra draft pick. Just like that. Weird rule, but that's how it works. I would give Tong a shot. I'd give him one or two more starts in AAA, and if he dominates, call him up. Call him up. Because if he can be just okay in the majors, just a reliable starter for the rest of the year, that'd be huge. Then you can move Holmes to the bullpen. And then you can have a rotation of McLean, Tong, Senga, Manaya, and David Peterson. Hell, you want to give Sproat a shot, make him a six-man rotation? Do it. Do it. The Mets have room for Tong and Sproat, surprisingly. Like, you look at the Mets roster right now, they can make room. Let's take a look at some of the guys that they can DFA. Ryan Stanek, get him out of there. That would be the first one to go for me, is get Ryan Stanek the hell out of there. So let's say you call up, McGill will probably join the major league roster. Give him a shot. If he sucks, put him back down. DFA Ryan Stanek for McGill. And if McGill sucks, then you give Sproat or Tong a shot. And then they can also make room. We have a lot of outfielders. We have 5 right now. And you also have Jeff McNeil who can play the outfield. They have some options with Francisco Alvarez going on. I hope he's not going on the IL. I really hope Francisco Alvarez isn't going on the IL. That would suck. But they can make room. They can make room. And what they could also do is, no, they can't do that. I was going to say they could always just send down McLean, have Tong start, then send down Tong, but they can't do that. It has to be like 10 days, I believe. But they do have some options right now. I think Tong actually has a real shot at making his debut as long as he dominates in AAA one or two more times, then you got to give him a shot. Why not? I know he's 22 years old. I know he just got the call to AAA, but we've seen it before. Noah Syndergaard made a quick jump to the majors when he was just 22 years old. I mean, McLean this year, he started off in AA. McLean started in AA this year. Tore it up, went to AAA, tore it up. And I mean, 171 strikeouts in the minors this year, a .92 whip. Tong is dominating. Sooner rather than later, I think we need to see him, especially if it means you can put Clay Holmes in the bullpen. And I like I said before, I think this Clay Holmes experiment has worked. A 3.64 ERA with a 10-6 record right now. It's worked. As much as, we've kind of wanted to strangle Clay Holmes at times, he's actually been better than worse. Much better than worse. But 131 innings right now. Only 63 last year. He's going to need to move to the bullpen sooner rather than later. But let's touch on McLean. Now, some people are comparing Nolan McLean to Matt Harvey, obviously Jacob deGrom. Anytime a Mets starter that's young comes up and pitches well. I mean, Tyler McGill got deGrom comparisons in 2021. I'm not going to buy in and say he's the next Matt Harvey or the next Jacob deGrom. Like, why can't we just be happy that Nolan McLean came up and looked ridiculously good? I mean, he showed balls, worked out of jams, worked out of a runner on first and second jam, worked out of a bases loaded jam. I mean, Nolan McLean showed that he has balls. He showed that he is a competitor. I mean, his start was amazing. 5.1 innings, only 2 hits allowed, 8 strikeouts. 8 strikeouts. He was getting guys like Cal Riley, Julio Rodriguez. Like, the Seattle Mariners are a very good team. They're in a playoff spot. He pitched that well against a playoff team. Randy Arozarena, good player. Made him look foolish. J.P. Crawford, another great guy on this roster. Eugenio Suarez, obviously. Josh Naylor. Like, those two additions. It's crazy how, like, they got both Suarez and Naylor. It's like, hey, come over. It's wild. But that was a good team. That was a playoff team that Nolan McLean, I'm not going to say dominated, but he had I'm not calling him Jacob deGrom, but he did have a deGrom-esque start where there's runners on base. You're a little worried. 2-0 count with runners on. Throws a sweeper in the zone. Throws a curveball that nobody can touch, or at least nobody could touch. I think Nolan McLean is going to be one of the best pitchers on this team this year. I'll say that right now. I mean, right now, after his start, after what he did in the minors, you got a game against the Phillies, let's say. Late in the season, first place up for grabs. I think a lot of people would choose Nolan McLean on the mound right now. Me personally, I'd probably still choose Kodai Senga just because what he did in 2023, what he did earlier on the year. I think Senga can start to rebound, or I would choose a David Peterson. But I know there's a lot of people who would say they'd want Nolan McLean making a start like that just because of what they think he can be, what they think he is. And I wouldn't be opposed. I wouldn't argue it. I'd say, you're right. That's a good option. Nolan McLean is more than ready to be a major leaguer. He showed that in the minors. He showed that in his first start. I do think Tong still has the higher ceiling, but Nolan McLean still has a high ceiling himself. He's ready for it. And I'm excited that he's going to stay in the rotation. I think there was no doubt about it. It's not like Blade Tidwell. And we were all frustrated when Blade Tidwell was getting these opportunities over Sproat, Tong, and McLean earlier on in the year. But when you look at it realistically in a full picture, it makes sense now. McLean was struggling against lefties. He's now figured it out against lefties in his final month in AAA. You save his rookie status. So whereas if he wins the Rookie of the Year next year, they gain that extra draft pick. He gets arbitration a year earlier now, so it works out for him as well. And he got more time to develop. I mean, who knows? If the Mets made him start last month, is he going to go out there and pitch 5.1 innings? Like, they really made sure that Nolan McLean was ready. Tidwell, they didn't give a crap about. They just threw him under the fire. They were like, screw. They knew it. They knew Tidwell was not going to be who Tong, Sproat, or McLean would ever be. They said, screw it, let's pitch Blade Tidwell and see what he does. But they want to take their time with these three kids specifically because they have high hopes in them. And it's crazy to think about how young the Mets rotation could be down the line. Nolan McLean, Jonah Tong, Brandon Sproat, and we still have Christian Scott, who is higher ranked than all three of those guys when he got the call last year. The Mets are building a pitching, like they're building up their pitching in that farm system. I mean, you look at all the great Mets teams, more specifically, 2015. You look at that team, and I'm not saying they got to have the all homegrown pitchers again, but that was a great team to root for. You had Syndergaard at 22 years old. DeGrom, a year after winning the Rookie of the Year. Matt Harvey, obviously one of the most exciting young pitchers in recent memory for the Mets. Steven Matz. Zach Wheeler, even though he didn't pitch that year. But everybody really loved Zach Wheeler. And then Bartolo Colon. But you had that one guy, right? Now you look at the Mets right now. Even in 2022, before I get into this year, 2022, you had DeGrom, right? Pitching. It was all pitching in 2022. You had DeGrom. You had Scherzer. Obviously, two studs at the top of the rotation. You had Chris Bassett, who was pitching extremely well for the Mets in 2022. The Mets had good pitching in 2022 when they won 100 games. Last year, not so much great pitching, more so Francisco Lindor going off, but still pretty good pitching. I mean, you look, Shaw Manaea was great last year. Luis Severino was great last year. David Peterson was fantastic last year. The Mets always win when they have good pitching. Always. 86, obviously, when they won the World Series. I know it was a long time ago, but sometimes you just got to live to your theme. And, you win when you have good pitchers, and that's what the Mets do. You had Ron Darling, who was a stud. You had Doc Gooden, who was a stud. So I would just keep building up this rotation like they're doing right now in the farm system. And then if you can hit on a few, position player prospects like a Carson Bench, who's very exciting right now, lighting it up in the minors. He finally made his way to AAA just a year after getting drafted. He'll probably be with the Mets sometime next year. Jet Williams, still exciting some people. I think he could be, an impactful major leaguer. They're built like these next wave of guys that are David Stearns guys, not so much Brody Van Wagen guys or, you know, Billy Epler guys. Some of them are Billy Epler guys. Some of them, like Sproat, Billy Epler guy. I believe McLean and Tong are both Billy Epler guys as well. But Carson Bench is David Stearns guy. He likes Jet Williams. We all know he loves Jet Williams, taking his time with him. That's what I've realized. Stearns likes to take his time, but at the same time, sometimes you just got to take a chance. And I think Tong is the one guy they should take a chance on if they need an extra starter this year at some point. But it's crazy to think, like next year, they could have a rotation. Let's say Clay Holmes probably a lock for the rotation. Senga's a lock for the rotation. Manet is a lock for the rotation. But then the rest are going to be homegrown guys. David Peterson, Nolan McLean. And then you look at your depth, you can go Christian Scott, Brandon Sproat, Jonah Tong. That's Peterson, Sproat, McLean, Tong, Christian Scott. Those are 5 homegrown guys that are going to be in the rotation potentially next year. So, exciting future for the Mets. Exciting future. I want to touch a little bit on the Yankees. Spend a lot of time on the Mets. I got work tonight at 10:30, so I got to take my nap before I go to work and get ready for work, sadly. But at least I get to catch the Met game this week because 6:45 start tomorrow, so I'll be able to watch that and then work at 10:30. So I'll be able to watch the Met games because last week I was working at freaking 4 o'clock, so that sucked. So I was missing every Met game almost. I had to watch the highlights or I had to keep it on DVR. And I did get to watch Saturday. I did get to watch the full Nolan McLean start, which was nice. And the Little League World Classic yesterday, so that was nice. But Friday, I mean, I was going to watch it over on the DVR, but right when I turned on my phone, I saw the 11-9 final score. And I was like, why would I want to watch that game? So I just watched the highlights. And they did do well. The offense, like I said, the offense is waking up for the Mets. So the Mets are waking up, hopefully. But the Yankees have woken up. 7-3 in their last 10 games. They've won now 5 of their last 6. They're gaining momentum. They beat up on the Cardinals. They beat the team they were supposed to beat. Took 2 out of 3 from the Twins. They're starting to gain momentum. And that's what they need. I mean, I look at yesterday's win when they scored 8 runs. And it was fantastic. I mean, Will Warren has been pretty good. Will Warren has actually been one of their better pitchers this year. You look at his overall numbers, a 4.25 ERA isn't sexy by any stretch, but he's 7-5 this year. And you look at his starts, you look at his game log. He has been really well, especially since July 25th. On July 25th, went 5.2 innings against the Phillies, only allowed 2 runs. July 30th, 6 innings, 1 run. August 5th against Texas, 5 innings, no runs. 6.2 innings against Minnesota, only 2 runs. 4.2 innings against St. Louis yesterday, only 1 run. He's had 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 bad starts overall. Only 3 times he's allowed more than 4 earned runs as a rookie. That's pretty good. The one start against Toronto where he allowed 8 runs over 4 innings. The one start against Atlanta where he allowed 5 runs over 3.2 innings. And against the Dodgers when he allowed 7 runs over 1.1 innings. If you take those 3 crappy starts away, this guy's a sub-3 ERA pitcher. Will Warren is exactly what the Yankee fan has hoped for, I believe. He's been good. He's been really good over his past 5 games now. But realistically, like, you take away those 3 starts, Will Warren is a frontline starter right now. He's a frontline starter. And I know you say, oh, well, those are against good teams. I get it. Against good teams, those 3 teams that he blew up against, they're good teams. Like the Atlanta Braves, even though their record doesn't say it, they're a good team. The Phillies are a good team. Toronto Blue Jays, first place team. The Dodgers just won the World Series. They're a great team, back in first place. But he's still dominated against good teams. He's still pitched well against good teams. 5.2 innings against the Philadelphia Phillies, only allowing 2 runs. That's a good team. You look at his start against you look at, like, against Texas, another good team this year. Not like what they were a few years ago, but still a good team. They're in the race. 5 innings, only 3 hits allowed. That's a good team. St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, they're not a great team, but they're an okay team. They're a good team. They can win any game they play. They still got a good roster. So Will Warren has pitched exceptionally well. They get Louis Heel back. Louis Heel hasn't been what he was last year just yet, but we got to give him a break a little bit because he did just come back from injury, but he looked dominant in his past 2 starts. He looked like the Louis Heel of last year. His first start back, terrible. 3.1 innings, let up 5 runs against the Miami Marlins, but then he shut down the Houston Astros, went 5.1 innings, only 2 earned runs, a home run kill, and then 5.1 against St. Louis, only allowed 4 hits, 1 earned run. Walks have killed him. He had 4 walks against Miami, 1 walk against Houston, 3 walks against St. Louis. But, it's his first 3 starts back. His command will get better the more he pitches. And he's, like I said, I'm not surprised he got hurt because even in the beginning of the year, I said it, he pitched 151 innings last year, and he never pitched over 100 innings in the minors. So something was going to happen to him this year. It obviously didn't work out in the beginning of the year, but now they got a healthy Louis Heel back, hopefully for the rest of the year. A fresh Louis Heel, because he started to fall off the map a little bit in the second half of last year when his innings started to increase. So Will Warren, Louis Heel, but the one guy you really need to get something out of is Max Fried. I'm going to touch on him in a second. I want to mention Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon, I mean, the Yankee fans have a love-hate relationship with him, but man, has he been good this year. 3.25 ERA, 12-7. Even last year. Last year's ERA was pretty high last year, but still won 16 games for them. But he's having his best year as a Yankee. Just went 7 innings against Minnesota, only allowed 1 hit, 1 earned run. Against Texas, 5 innings, only 2 runs. Miami, a little bit of a blunder, but only 2 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, mainly because of walks and the home run. Sometimes he has a start like that, but mainly he's been better than he has been worse this year. Against the Phillies, went 5.1 innings, allowed 3 home runs, but still outside of those 3 home runs, he did good. He got them the win. They won 4-3 that game. Against Toronto, 2 earned runs, 5 walks did kill him that game because he allowed 4 total, but only 2 of them were earned. I mean, Rodon has been good. The one guy you need to start stepping up is Max Fried, and I'm not concerned about Max Fried because Max Fried always, even with the Atlanta Braves, he would have stretches where he would struggle. But, man, he's been struggling his last 3 starts. 7 earned against St. Louis. They still somehow won that game because the offense absolutely tore it up. Specifically Ben Rice that game. Ben Rice went absolutely off that game. 3 for 5 with 7 RBIs. I think it was 7 RBIs that game. Aaron Judge went 2. I got the game log right here. Yeah, 2 for 3. Aaron Judge went. So, but Ben Rice has been something this year. I want to touch on him in a little bit. But, they need Max Fried. He has a 3.26 ERA now. I mean, he was a guy who just on July 1st, he had a .94 whip. With a 2.13 ERA after that start. Now his ERA is 3.26 with a 1.12 whip. So his last month, he's been struggling. I mean, for anybody to expect him to continue to pitch to a sub-2 ERA like he was through the first few months of the season, I think they were out of their mind. He's a good pitcher. He's a great pitcher. He's an elite pitcher. But he's not a dominant pitcher. But he's still a trustworthy pitcher. He's still a guy you're going to trust to make a big start. And I think he'll start to come around again. I'm not worried about Max Fried. But this offense has been going off, just like the Mets offense. Ben Rice has been going off. Only hitting .239 this year, but 18 home runs. 18 home runs. He's going to have a 20-25 homer year. Nobody expected that, except me. I said that, just saying, not 25 home runs, but I said Ben Rice could be good. Because I looked at his minor league numbers. You can check out the video. You can go on my YouTube log and find it if you really don't believe me. But I said Ben Rice could be a sleeper in that Yankees lineup this year if he gets his shot. And, man, he's gotten his shot. He's starting to be the everyday catcher over Austin Wells. Finally, he's a better hitter. not necessarily a better defender, but when you're a catcher, he's a top 5 offensive catcher right now. If he's catching every day, he's a top 5 offensive catcher right now. Catchers don't historically hit over the past few years. I mean, you take a look just off the top of my head. You have Cal Raleigh, you have Salvador Perez as an offensive catcher. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Hunter Goodman, another great offensive catcher this year. He's having a good year. And then I would actually say Ben Rice is up there with them right now. Not with Cal Raleigh, of course. But I mean, the guy has 18 home runs and 803 OPS. He never strikes out. Like Ben Rice doesn't really strike out. He's only struck out 79 times in 104 games. 79 times he's struck out. He's worked 41 walks. He's selective. He's got pop. He's got 21 doubles on the year in 104 games. Like, this guy's good. And if he's your everyday catcher, the Yankees, just like that, have a top 5 offensive catcher in the game. I don't think anybody expected him to take Austin Wells' spot. I didn't. I said he would just be a good hitter, whether it's in the outfield, at first base, platooning with Paul Goldschmidt, or whether it's DHing. But having that left-handed bat, putting up those numbers as a catcher, that's good. And then since Stan has returned to this lineup, I mean, Stanton he's been great. He's sitting again on Sunday. He was absent from the lineup the other day. But, I mean, he's sit again on Sunday. Hopefully nothing too concerning with Stanton because he gets hurt a lot. But this year he's been probably having his best year, even though it's only 44 games. But right now he has a 953 OPS, hitting 299, 12 homers. He's been ridiculous. 34 RBIs in 44 games. He's been ridiculous. And Aaron Judge, MVP. I don't care. Cal Raleigh hitting all these home runs, great. Aaron Judge might not have more home runs or RBIs right now, but I mean 39 homers, 91 RBIs, probably going to have another 40, definitely having another 40, 100 plus RBI year, and he's hitting 333. 333, hitting 40 homers, probably 50 homers. Let's be real, he's going to have another 50 homer year. How do you not give that guy the MVP? If he doesn't, that's stupid. We all know he's the MVP. We all know he's the best player in the American League. Maybe even I think he's the best hitter in baseball. I would still take Aaron Judge in my lineup every day over Shohei Ohtani. I think Aaron Judge is undoubtedly the best hitter in baseball. When you hit 333 and you're going to hit 50 homers, you're the best hitter in baseball. He does it all. Yes, he strikes out a ton. But a strikeout sometimes is better than a double play. Aaron Judge, still the king of baseball right now. And I hate saying that because I'm a Met fan, but it's true. Aaron Judge is the best hitter in baseball. He's the best hitter in baseball. And he's finally starting to wake up after his little IL stint. Went 2 for 3 in game 2 against St. Louis with a homer and a double. 1 for 3 yesterday. I mean, he's starting to pick things up again. And when he goes, obviously the Yankees go. But the Yankees, a bit of a soft schedule coming up at the perfect time. I mean, they got the Rays coming up, the Red Sox. That's going to be huge. They can gain some ground in the AL East, gain some ground in the wild card race because they're right behind the Red Sox in both. Then they got the Nationals, the White Sox, the Astros, the Blue Jays where they can gain some ground again, then the Tigers. So a little bit of a tough schedule, but mainly an easy schedule. I mean, you got the Nationals, White Sox, 2 easy teams that they can beat up on. You got the Red Sox, who they should beat up on. They are a better team than the Red Sox. They can beat up on the Twins. They can beat up on the Orioles, the White Sox, and then the Orioles to finish the year. The Yankees are going to make the playoffs. All right, but that's it for me. I got to start getting ready for work and take my nap before work. That's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. And I think New York baseball could be back. We'll see. Got to see some more, but could be back. They're gaining momentum. That's it for me today. We'll talk some football next podcast because Jackson Dart looks phenomenal. Jackson Dart looks freaking phenomenal. I know it's preseason, but he looks really good. All right, that's it for me, guys. I'm out of here. Deuces.